A very good morning, right back here at Sodok Crown Court, where this bribery trial of former Minister of Petroleum, Diezani and two others is nearing completion. We are on the home stretch. Yesterday, I told you that the prosecution started summing up on Monday. Yesterday, the first half of yesterday before lunch break, Miss Healy jumped right from where she left up on Monday and was really having the momentum. She was, let me start by even saying that how many of you have watched a football match where the first half, the home side continues to press. This pressing is very impressive, and they're just putting the away team in disarray. That was how it looked yesterday. That's the backdrop I'm going to use for you, right? So let's say the Crown is the home side of two Premiership League sides, playing. The Crown had the floor from where they left off on Monday. And yesterday morning, Crown prosecutor continued by putting in all the evidence, going over the evidence they already tendered and going into further details, expatiating on them, and then telling the jurors that, look, at one time she said, all that the defense of Diezani have said, she described it as overwhelming rubbish, because all the Crown was doing yesterday, citing various emails which they've already used in their great facts during when they were making their submission, to say, look, shopping here, shopping there. They did shopping. The names of the 6 men, which we've had in the previous week since January: Kola Lokojide Omakore, Benedict Peters, Prince Momo, Igo Sanomi, and then these 6 names, that's 5, right? I'll give you the 6th one. Kevin Ojere, they all came up again. That was what the Crown was doing yesterday, going over the names of these 6 people to say they did this, they did that, they did that shopping, they paid for that, they paid for this. And she was actually laying the chronology, trying to bring home her argument. And like I said, at one point she said, what Diezani's defense is asserting, she described them as utter rubbish, overwhelming rubbish, saying that, they did the shopping for us, so definitely that was improper advantage. And then she made that case to say, look, Olatimbo Anyide, she made Prince Momo to do shopping for Diezani, and that was conspiracy, that Diezani knew that was improper. And she continued, and if it was a football match, like I said, by the end of the first half yesterday, the home team will have scored 3 goals. That was what it looked like. The Crown made compelling argument that if we were to put it in football terms, 3 goals by half time when we went on break. So she used 1.5 days to sum up, actually a day, because on Monday, the judge took the first half of the day in giving legal directions and to the jurors. So it was in the later part of Monday that the Crown prosecutor started to do a summing up, and she finished it yesterday before lunch break. So let me just read part of what she said. It's a bit windy, so I don't want the wind to blow away my document. The Crown herself, recite, goes over papers, All right, so let me just start, by saying that, she cited, among the things that the Crown prosecutor cited was how Olatimbo Ayende's card was used in Davos. You remember Davos? Davos is in Switzerland, where they always have this World Economic Forum every January. She cited the use of Olatimbo Ayende's card on the 25th of January 2013, 2 days after Diezani arrived for the World Economic Forum. She said it's clear that Olatimbo Ayende is authorizing a card to make payment. And then she goes on and then cited other uses of a card and also cited how payment was made for flights, the flight between Dubai and Dover. And she also said, look, these are evidences, like I said, she went over those things, those payments, which for them, that is improper advantage for a minister, for a foreign minister to be getting. And she said, look, Diezani's defense is that this payment have been reimbursed to these people, to these 6 people, Kola Loko, Gideon Mokwore, Prince Momo, Igo Sanomi, who are NNP system. She said that is overwhelming rubbish. And she also said that, look, there is no system. Why are they not invoicing the NNPC? So she went about this. And when it came to Olatimbo Ayende, she described the EFCC, citing one of the letters that Olatimbo had used. She described the EMCC as unreliable, that, they are just not, they cannot be trusted. Because in one of the letters that Olatimbo wrote to President Buhari in April of 2016, she mentioned that EFCC, DSS, state organs, they are being used to manipulate, opposition people and people that they do not like, that organs of the state. So the Crown Prosecutor hammered on this and said the EFCC, DSS, they cannot be trusted. When she finished, less than an hour later, Diezani's defense was on his feet, and he just took it from there. He said, look, I want to confront the circumstances that have caused this case. And he said, I'm going to confront the evidence in 5 sections. He said there is simply no evidence that there's conspiracy between his client and the 2 defendants, that is Bishop Doria Gama and Olatimbo Ayende. And he said, look, I'll be facing out that is going to fight, is going to make his case under, that is going to present 9 incontrovertible facts in the evidence. And also, as he mentioned during the trial, in the earlier stages of the trial, I said, look, you are charging Diezani here. He said, the 6 people, the 6 men that you said bribed her, you have not charged any of them, and you cannot even bring any of them to come and testify. And not only that, the defense said, look, when they wanted to go and inspect the document that were collected when Diezani's property was in Abuja in 2015, that when one of our defense lawyers needed to go and inspect these materials, initially the Crown agreed, then later they withdrew the approval. So the defense could not go and inspect those documents. She said, look, it is the same organization, EFCC, that you, the Crown, less than an hour ago, you said they cannot be trusted. Now, you are not trying to say the evidence they collected that you're going to rely upon them. So she said, number one, his client did not have the opportunity to go back. She's been stuck here for over 10 years. And in these over 10 years, the 6 people you said bribed this woman, you cannot even bring any one of them to come and testify against her in court. So he said, look, I'm going to fight this case. I'm going to argue our case with under 9 sections. And he said, look, I'm not going to take long like the prosecution. So, of course, he didn't have much time to say, but he said, I'm not going to take as long as the prosecution. So probably he's going to finish his summing up this morning. And he told them, he said, look, you people, you jurors there in London, and he told them, he said, he does not think when the parliament promulgated these two legislations that Diezani and the two others have been charged, that the parliament, that they had in mind how a foreign minister should be performing her duties. Those, he said, he doubted if that was what these two legislations, the Bribery Act and also the criminal. I said he doubted if this was what the parliament had in mind when these two acts came into existence in 1977 and 2010. So he laid the groundwork yesterday and he started, he said, look, I'm going to fight this case. This is how I'm going to be. But hopefully by lunchtime, it will be finished. And as I said last week, hopefully, as things are going, the jury could be out by Friday. If the defense finishes like this today, definitely Saturday is going to finish today, because I said I'm not going to take that long as the prosecution. And the prosecution spent an entire day, part of Monday and yesterday. So the defense started yesterday. So hopefully it's going to finish, if not before lunch, by the end of today. Then Olatimbo and this defense will come in, and then Bishop's defense will come in. So let's assume they to take tomorrow and then Thursday. So by Friday, the jury could be out. And also, our defense told them, they said, look, you people are sitting here in London, you, this jury, you do not probably understand how things are done. My client did not have access to the document which she could have used. And when we wanted to even go and inspect the things, the inventory the EFCC said they recovered from a property in 2015, the Crown prosecution said, no, we cannot go. So he said, look, his client is already is at a disadvantage. So he put this out there, but today, I hope today is when he's going to land the heavy blows, because he said, look, I'm going to present 9, in fact, he said, even the Crown's narrative that they have inconvenient truth that does not even fit their narrative. So yesterday, he just laid the groundwork before the judge rose at 4 o'clock. And today, hopefully, we'll be able to bring those evidences, those holes, the gaps in the Crown's argument. So that's how it panned out. Or later on, I'll be able to give you more details of the dates, the things, how it goes on. But the defense has said, look, even the Crown, there is inconvenient truth, that this thing, what they have put together, and it's even said, look, the serious fraud office and the police should be the one handling this case, not the National Crime Agency. He even pointed out, he said, look, since the EFCC searched Diezani's property, the inventory they did, more than 10 years later, not a single officer of NCA, National Crime Agency, saw those documents. And said it wasn't until late last year and early this year that the materials are seized from Diezani's property. The NCA that is prosecuting that brought the case to the Crown prosecution said they did not even see those documents for over 10 years. We're saying, look, how do we trust it? Not only that, the Crown prosecutor herself has just less than an hour before he took the floor to say, look, the EFCC cannot be trusted, the DSS cannot be trusted in our own estimation. So the same EFCC we are saying cannot be trusted, that is the same EFCC the National Crime Agency is relying upon the document which they recovered from his client, and said, when we wanted to go and inspect those documents, the Crown prosecutor, the Crown prosecution did not allow us. So this is the groundwork that the defense laid yesterday, and hopefully today, definitely today, it is going to continue at 10:15, and at some point, definitely by lunchtime or after lunch, it should finish. And like I said, the jury could be out by the end of this week. So that's where it is. And like I said yesterday, before the premiership is rounded off by next weekend, this trial could be over. It could be harder because when the jury is out, it's left entirely to the jury to decide. And also, he pointed out part of the legal direction, the defense pointed out part of the legal direction under which they can return verdict. I'll be able, in my next update, I'll be able to give you exactly what he told the jury, that he brought out the legal direction that the leadership gave the jurors on Monday to say, look, if this case is like this, you must find not guilty. If it is like this, that is when he must be guilty. So he pointed those out, and today the defense should close his summing up. All right, that's how it is today, and I hope to catch you next time.